Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Run It Back, and this is episode number 24. Always super happy to hear that number continuing to grow. You'll have to forgive me. We've got a fire alarm check happening in the background here. That's always good for a live production. So I'm your host, Menelik Fernandez, and Run It Back. I always like to explain the premise when I start. Basically, uh, the concept of the show is we take teams that have played previously and we run it back, so to speak, and we talk about what worked, what didn't work, how we prepared, what we would change, all that kind of fun stuff. And just before I delve in, I always like to give a shout out to the Rising Coaches Network. As I say in every episode, I'm really, really happy to be part of that network. And if you're a coach who's interested in getting better at the game and learning from others who are willing to share the game, I highly recommend you go and join their network. It's a large coaching tree of coaches who just want to get better. And then this brings me to our matchup for the day today. We're doing a G League game, Fort Wayne Mad Ants versus College Park. The game took place on March 6th of 2020, and we're doing it from Fort Wayne's perspective. And we are super happy today and super fortunate to have the head coach, Steve Gansey, join us today, excuse me. Coach Gansey played at both Cleveland State and Ashland. He's been with the Mad Ants off and on since 2009, originally as an assistant. Then he left briefly for a stint with the Canton Charge as their associate head coach and has currently been their head coach since 2015. Coach Gansey, thank you so much for joining us. I'm very happy to have you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate the opportunity to jump on here and dive into some, basketball and just embrace and talk about it. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I'm super happy to have you. And I'm also super happy to speak about some basketball. Obviously, things are beginning to gear up again. I'm sorry, everybody. I know that's super distracting to me, but we'll
Okay.
get through it. I apologize. So Coach Gansey, talk about this game a little bit. Preparation is usually where I like to start. What does that look like for you at your level? How many games out are you watching? What does the report look like? How is it delivered? All that fun stuff.
Well, so I'm going to be sharing my screen quite a bit here, just so you guys can kind of see exactly what I'm talking about rather than explaining it. So feel free to take a little Snapchat or whatever of the things I'm sending you.
For
But
sure.
I'm going to share my screen right now, and basically what our calendar looks. This is what going into that month. So we played. Hope you guys can see it. We played College Park right here Friday. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days
Yeah.
off before our last game, and where we played Canton in Cleveland, which we lost, I think, by 5. But that Monday was off. We obviously came back Sunday night, back to Fort Wayne. Monday was off. Tuesday, that first practice, usually after a day off, we really like to um, put the previous game to bed, is what I call it. So we would usually start off. We'd have our normal practice routine with vitamins, and vitamins are pre-practice workouts, and it's more individual based. Catering to the individual player. Our coaches would do that. We always start that kind of like an hour and a half before our practice. We'd practice at 12 right there, and we just but basically that entire day would be all about us. We would work on our offensive defensive principles. It wouldn't be long, but we put the music on. We get guys going, getting excited, to have a good week of practice leading up to the College Park game. So usually Wednesday and Thursday we'd kind of alter it really towards College Park and what they do defensively. Different ways that we can attack um, offensively, and then play them at home, in Fort Wayne, and probably not even have a shoot around, to be honest with you, because we have these 2 days, and we want to get these guys as much rest as possible. So that's kind of the preparation leading up to it. Going into that week, we also, in terms of scouts. Hopefully, you guys can see this. So this would be this is our scouting report. Try to zoom in a little bit. We
Appreciate
like to give we like to give our now this front page is just for the coaches
it. Okay.
and, and who's ever scout is in charge. We usually like to have two out of our four, and assistant coach, video coordinator, and then we have two interns. So one of those guys would help with personnel and video. But this is just the coach's sheet right here. All right, just it's got the depth chart, matchups, who their shooters. Very kind of bland information, but also very important information. And then basically this is what we look at. What do they do defensively? What do they do offensively? Some of their end of games, ATOs. You know, what's the best way for us to attack defensively and offensively? Some game time adjustments, and then just the keys to win. So that's just for the coaches. Very simple, one page. Whoever scout it is, that guy gives it to me, the day before, or if we have that, when we have that early meeting for shoot around, he'll give me this, and we'll discuss it. Now this next page, stop me if I'm going too much into
No, this is
whatever.
incredible, Coach. Thank you for sharing.
Um, this next page, I mean, obviously all the coaches get this, but this is what we show the players. So we give this to them. It's waiting for them at their locker. Say we have a shoot around that day. Usually our shoot arounds are at 11 to 12. You only get an hour. We can have it either 10 or 11. I like the opposing team getting up earlier, especially if they drove from Erie, Pennsylvania, and they get up at they got in at 2 o'clock. So I want
Right.
them to get up early, and I think that's an advantage. And sometimes they don't even have shoot around too. But we give all of our players this, personnel scouting report. As you can see, one of the things right here, coverage, gap, we're going under. Okay, this is a non-shooter. That's really kind of, if they're going to take one thing, that's really what we want them to take into the game. These guys are playing multiple games back to back. Obviously, if we've played this team, the night before, or 2 days before, 3 days before, these guys would know a lot of their tendencies
Right.
earlier. But we really want to just give them one or two, points. Jordan Seipert right here, laser. Okay, laser to us is a guy who can just light it up. He can shoot
Right.
it from anywhere. So that's a guy who's over 3 attempts a game and shooting over 37% from three. So this is kind of, I mean, this is all we give our players. Now, this is something that's on our our coaches get also. And this is what I really dive in. This is kind of the analytics of our entire league, where we rank, where they rank. In previous years, I've always looked at, well, I want to average 115 points per game. Okay, but the league average is only, say, 105, and we never got to get that goal. So we really kind of dived into, all right, what's the league average, and how are we ranking up to it? What are other teams ranking into it? And it just kind of gives you kind of a cheat sheet of what this team's all about. Pace. I mean, when we played College Park, the first time they kicked our butts, I think by 15, 16. But this team really wants to run. They really want to get to the line. So it kind of just gives a little overview of what they do. I'm really into the last 5 games with lineups. In the G League, there's a lot of, you could have 2 assignment guys, 2
Right.
two-way guys, one game, and then have, those 4 guys not even be there the next game. So trying to look at different lineups and how they did is important to me. It's really impossible to have some type of substitution pattern in terms of matchups. I mean, you could say, all right, this guy's going in at 6 minutes with the Mad Ants. I mean, it's easy for me offensively, but to try to dictate, all right, well, when Jordan Seipert goes in, I'm putting in this guy. Like, you just don't know when those guys are going in, and it's tough. And which is, the NBA, it's a lot more fluid, and a lot of people know kind of their rotations. In the G
Right.
League, You never know who's going to be there. They could show up at 90 minutes before the game and just jump right in and play that game. So your assistants have to be ready for the personnel edit and have some of those tendencies ready. And then we
Sorry,
obviously
quick
go ahead.
question just before you go to the next section there. With regards to that, would you be the ultimate decision? Well, I guess you would obviously be the ultimate decision, but would you be managing your substitution pattern, or would the person who is responsible for that scout be managing it in that particular game?
It varies. Usually, I mean, probably 75% of the time it's me, um,
Right,
and just watching that aspect of the game. I mean, I want my assistants to kind of one's focusing on offense, one's focused on defense. Whoever scouted is, obviously, I'm going to have that guy sit next to me on the bench.
right,
Um, but I usually, do all the substitutions, and that's more of a feel for me. If I need to get guys certain minutes, if we have our assignment players with us and those guys are going to play 35 minutes or more, I might have a little cheat sheet of, I want these
right.
guys to play together, kind of a substitution pattern. But, probably about 75% of the reason or of the season, I just went on feel. And then obviously looking at box scores, I mean, I'm a type of coach that plays maybe 8 guys, shoot sometimes 7 guys, and just
Right.
have a good feel for those guys to go in and play. And then this is our own rankings also. Um, so that's something we get before every game, kind of see where we're at, where we can improve, and all. So that's a little bit of.
It's amazing stuff, Coach. So then I would assume that you have people who are dedicated to producing just that for you, who are outside of the coaches who are producing the scout.
Yeah, absolutely. Spencer Anderson with the Pacers and Nick Felder with the Pacers. They're in the analytics department. Those guys help me. I mean, they give me post game reports. They give me pregame reports. Um, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I mean, this exact game. I'll share it right here. This exact game. This is what we got right after the game. So I speak with Spencer, I speak with Nick before the season, during the season. What are we looking at? These are our goals. So that first day that we come back after we play College Park, I'll show all the players this. All right, we met 6 out of our 10 goals on the offensive end, and kind of just go through it. And really, these are kind of really bullet points of, all right, how did we do? And I really look at this from the previous time that we played them. Now, like I said before, they could have 4 players that were significance the previous game that they didn't have this game. So it's tough to kind of translate it. But you always kind of look at the previous game and see what you could do better going into this game. But this is what we get before or after every game, and we'll watch film from this game, and then we just kind of put it to bed.
So, Coach, I got a bunch of questions. I think the first place I'd like to start is with the amount of tenure that you have at this point in the G League, how much have these kinds of reports shaped how you would eye test the game? So, like you mentioned, you sub a lot on feel and a lot on recognizing patterns, etc. I would imagine that when you first come in, you played at a high level, but it's a bit overwhelming the amount of statistics that are thrown at you. How much has it shaped how you eye test the game?
In the beginning, my first year, in Canton, even the previous year, before I was the head coach, we looked in the analytics and some of these goals, and I really liked it. And it's not a lot of things to throw at guys, because some guys, they won't understand it. But I think it's very important in the game to utilize analytics and really dive into what's working for your team, what's not working for your team. And numbers don't lie, film don't lie. So as a head coach, if you're really trying to prove a point, whether that's to the team or to one of your players, by showing them the numbers, I mean, they can't, they can argue however you want, but
Yeah.
it's different how some coaches like to use certain analytics to their advantage. I mean, all of them do, but on the other end, there's some numbers that I really don't really care about, but it's part of our game. It needs to be part of your staff. You see more and more NBA teams get staffs getting bigger,
Right.
adding analytics guys, and it's just great to really. Well, this is what I think, and then the numbers back it up.
So for this game, you got a few practices going in. You talk about what you delivered. What would film look like for you guys during that week? Do you do individual things for the particular matchups of your guys? Do you do something for the whole team? How long? What does that look like for you?
So that Monday we had off. Tuesday is all about us. So our coaches would have individual film ready for their players. So coming from the last maybe two games, maybe that Canton game, those guys would sit there and talk with them about what they see, what they can do better, leading up until this week, both offensively, defensively, any principles, any philosophies that we want to try to get done. We wouldn't show any film in terms of College Park until probably the day before. If we have a shoot around, on game day, then I make sure the guys are dressed and ready. Dressed and ready is very important. That's one of my little pet peeves. These
Right.
guys will be in there in their sweats and everything, and we got 15 minutes of film, and then we'd go right on the court for our shoot around from 11 to 12. But we'd have them dressed and ready 10:35. We'd give them that personnel sheet so that hopefully they would read it by the time coaches come in there. Usually they get there about 10:15, so they got a little grace period to change and look at that. But who's ever scouted is, that guy's in charge of a personnel edit and then a play edit. So whatever College Park is running, I don't like the film sessions to be long. Sometimes they are, especially me. I tell my assistants, hey, I want it shorter, and then I go up there and I'm up there for 20 minutes or whatever. But just a play edit and a personnel edit, and if we can show personnel before shoot around, that's what I would like normally. And then at the end of our shoot around, we would go over our plays on the court, and then right when shoot around's over, we would go in to the locker room, and then we would watch that play edit. So they would kind of get a little double dose of the play edit.
So if it's not your scout per se, if it's one of your assistants, how much are you receiving prior to walking into a situation like that? Like, I know that the breakdown of work amongst your other coaches helps you get through the season. But what I mean by that is like when you're going in, how much are you trusting your assistants versus how much are you also doing work on your own?
Mhm. Yeah, I delegate with my assistants big time. I really, I mean, this particular week, this game, I mean, our last game was Sunday, so I
Right.
can dive in and watch College Park, their last two games. And College Park, their last game was, I think, the previous Saturday, and we played them on Friday, and they played on Saturday. So I mean, they have a whole week of trying new things and all that. But I really trust my assistants with the scout. I really ask a lot of questions, and they can give me that sheet of paper, a day before, 2 days before, and putting the assignment guys, two-way guys. I mean, it's really tough in the G League because you have to prepare for everybody to be sent down.
Right.
You have to look at the Atlanta Hawks schedule and see, all right, well, they're away. Are they going to take their rookie with them? Are they going to take their two-way guys? So you need to, my assistants need to have all this film of these personnel guys in case they show up and you see them working out pregame and they have to be ready.
That's uh that's a tall order at times, I would imagine. How early do you find out about a two-way, about an assignment player, or is it like sometimes literally like you show up and they're there?
Well, there's a rule. I think it's 60 minutes before the tip,
Okay.
where it's called a PCMS, where the front office staff has to actually put that guy and put him active. There's been multiple times where my GM, I'm on the court, whatever pregame, or talking to my assistants, and my GM will walk up to me and says, "Hey, blah 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 is active. Well, have you seen him yet?" And just got to be ready for it. And that's the beauty of the G League too, because you have to coach on the fly, and you got to be prepared, and you got to be ready for it. And you just never know who's going to be there.
For sure. Again, I would say that's a tall order comparative to the college level that I'm used to, but it's pretty fun to watch for sure. So let's talk a little bit specifically about this game. What did you identify as things that you wanted to attack and things that you needed to defend against?
Yeah, this game, uh, our previous game that we played them, it was. I mean, that was back in November. We were a totally different team. I really think that. In a G League, the first 15 games you're one team. The next 15 games you could be a totally different team. You could have some returning players. You can have more assignments, and then your last 20 games can be a totally different team. So when we played College Park the first time, they really ran on us. That was the first time we saw them. They had athletes. But we wanted to identify some of these advantages that we could take into this game. One, we thought that they were a non-shooting team,
Right.
so going under on ball screens. Really, these guys were quick. They're fast. When you have guys like um, McCall, and then Cat Barber. Cat Barber is one of the quickest guys in the entire league. You really got to stress transition defense. These guys kicked our butts with it. Even this game, the game that we're talking about, I think they still had 20 transition points on us. But one of the things we wanted to do offensively was attack the paint. These guys they're pretty good one-on-one defenders, but they're kind of leaking out. From our previous game, we didn't. I think we only had 40 points in the paint. This game we had 56, and we got to the line a lot more. So that's one of the things we kind of wanted to identify, was just really attacking the paint and getting to the free throw line. This past year it was tough because it was the one free throw rule, 1 for 2 or 1 for 3. We got
Right.
fouled, and I think we lost a lot of these games because we missed a lot of these free throws. So, but we want to get to the line. We want to get to the line. We want layups. We want corner threes. We want the high percentage shots. So that's kind of what we really identified, offensively and defensively from these guys from the previous time.
So I actually had Coach Richmond on. I think it was like episode 17 or 18, and one of the things that he stressed was he didn't hate the free throw rule, but he really wished that they would have a stat that would show how many points were actually up for grabs,
Mhm.
because it's like you can miss the front end of 1 for 3, and then you're missing out on 3 points or whatever. So it would be neat to see that actually depicted in the box score somehow in there, so that you get a better sense of what like missing a free throw actually means at your level.
Yeah, it was really tough this past year because, say your offense isn't going, and you're not making shots. You might be getting good shots, but they're just not falling. And then you get fouled after, 3 possessions of not scoring, and then you're like, all right, great, this is good. We're at the free throw line, and then that guy misses that free throw.
Yeah,
That's 2 points.
yeah,
And then you look at, later on, you're watching film, or there's a timeout, and hey man, these guys are on a 12-0 run. Well, we missed 3 free throws that could have been 6 or 7 points. So that really hurt us this past year, because we had some of those games, and we were always one of the top free throw shooting teams in the past, and this past year we really weren't up there.
interesting. I did notice from the film, just speaking on what you had just mentioned, that you guys put the ball into the post quite a bit more than what I'm used to in watching NBA and G League games at this point.
Mhm.
I would assume that was specific to this game, just to the keys that you were mentioning, like trying to get more paint touches, trying to get more scores in the paint.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, obviously before this, I watched the game a couple days ago, and just going back and looking at things. You know, every game, I really want to look at mismatches. Um, if a team is switching all the ball screens, you play against the Rio Grande Valley. That's the Rockets team. Some of these
Right.
other teams, they switch a lot. So really, just trying to find the the best mismatch. We had Walt Lemon this past year. He's one of the quickest, if not the quickest guy in our league with the ball. I mean, one dribble and he can get to the rim. So really just trying to put the worst defender. If they're switching, let's put him on, an offensive threat and really try to attack it. We ran just an easy kind of, like a cross screen for Alizé and Steph Hicks in the post.
Right.
Alizé, I mean, if he scored right in the post right away, we're going to run it back. I mean, it's one of those, if it's not broke, or if it's not broke, don't fix it, or whatever.
Right.
If it's working, go ahead, keep going. So that's what we want to do. I mean, we want to attack the basket, but if it's working, we're going to keep going to it until they stop it. And if they throw a double, make the extra pass. One of the things Coach McMillan always talked about was, if a guy's open 100 times in a row, you pass it 100 times in a row. So,
Love it.
we really try to preach that with our guys. And, sometimes our players are like, man, we got to, we're going to run it, we're going to do the same thing. Well, yeah, because we're getting good buckets. I mean, we're scoring off of it. So, but that's the tough part about, being a head coach in the G League. Everyone wants to score. Everyone wants to, shine and this and that. But we really tried to dive in and just attacking that basket. Let's get high percentage shots in this game. And it was working.
So I share your philosophy. I know there's competing philosophies on just hammering the same thing until they make an adjustment, but I share your philosophy on that. I'm wondering, and I'm going to try not to go down a rabbit hole here or whatever, but I'm wondering, like you probably would have switching packages, drop packages, and you would probably test it out earlier in the game to see what they're doing. And obviously you have a clue what they're doing going in via scout, et cetera. What do you do to bring your two ways or your assignment players up to speed when they're joining you at like a relatively short notice? Do they get like a whole package, or is it just a conversation? How does that work?
Yeah. So, every year has been kind of a learning experience, and what I'd like to do with the Mad Ants and with the G League team. But, during training camp when I'm with the Pacers, that's a foundation.
Right.
Those guys, that's their first, whether it's a rookie, two-way, even if it's a guy that, is coming in his second year. All those defensive principles, those, those are our foundation. Those are our backbone. Those guys know that. Now, when they come with us, down to the G League, we can actually do some different things. I like to switch a little bit more than the Pacers usually like to do. They have a philosophy where they switch. Every time it's 6 seconds or less, whether it's
Right.
balls, every ball screen. So um, we work on it. We talk about it. We had a guy, Alizé Johnson, the past 2 years, and he's a guy who can really, sit down and guard smaller, quicker guards. So we wanted to kind of utilize that and really try to, throw the other team off. It's not about if, our players 100% know kind of what they're doing. It's about switching the other teams, making them panic. It might not look pretty. They might, get a shot, but you got to have your guys, buy into new ideas and trying different things. But we have our foundation and what we want to do in the middle pick and roll, side pick and roll, non-shooting bigs, shooting bigs, 1 through 3, 1 through 4, 1 through 5. I mean, we do a lot of different things, and we want to switch up a lot of different coverages in terms of defense.
Would you implement change a lot during games, or would it be from game to game? Like I noticed on your scout, it had varied coverages for varied players.
Mhm.
So like if you're feeling something's not working for a particular player, would you implement change right in the
Yeah.
game growing up?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things we like to do is start solid, and when I say solid, is our foundation. So our
Right.
five would be in a drop in the middle, and they'd be on a blue on the sides. Okay,
Okay.
but then but we'd switch 1 through 4. Okay, now we would only switch ball screens. We don't switch pin downs. We don't switch cross screens. So we had our own rules. And then later in the game, we might have Ben Moore, who's an active agile five, where we might switch 1 through 5. So we want to throw a lot of different things throughout the game. If a guy's getting hurt on switches, then we might get out there and blitz, which is what a hard hedge, and then get back to your own. We try to dictate our matchups. We want certain guys on certain people, um, and try to utilize that throughout the game.
Awesome. Love it. So during the game, just speaking of changes, etc., like, so at the half, you're up 5 at the half, you're going to halftime. What stats are you looking at on the box score? What are you taking care of on the sidelines that are being statted, say, by your coaches? And how do you implement change from there? Like, what are you saying to your guys in this particular game?
Well, I believe we had 13 turnovers in that first half. So, going into halftime, I write on my whiteboard 3 things offensively and 3 things defensively before I go talk to the team. And you can nitpick every single play, and we need to do this, we need to do that. But I really want to keep it very simple when I talk to these guys. If there's a set that we're getting, we just got scored on multiple times, then I'll have our defensive guy or myself go up there, and talk about it. And this is what we want to do. But it's got to be positive going into the half. I think we were up 12 or something like that, leading into the last 2 minutes of this game, and kind of fell apart. One of the things that we track at the end of every quarter is that last timeout. So the timeout 3 minutes or under, we call those 3-minute battles. And basically, whatever the score is, it's 0-0. We like to do that a lot in practices. Have 3-minute battles, 2-minute battles, 1-minute battles. So the first thing I'm talking to these guys is, hey, we won that 3-minute battle. We won that 2-minute in 45 seconds. 6-2. That's a good job of finishing that quarter.
That's
Um,
interesting.
yeah. So and that's one of the things maybe our intern or our video guy kind of tracks for us. And I think those little battles are huge because it's a long game. 48 minutes is a long game, and throughout the course of a game, some of these guys, we're up 50, we're up 25. And in the G League, I've never seen it more, in any other, even the NBA. I mean, it's a game of runs, and
Yeah.
these teams
Do you,
come back.
do you have any preference playing with the lead or playing from behind? Or, I mean, everybody wants to win, obviously, but like it's difficult to play with a lead.
I'll tell you what, we had a game this past year. We played Canton. We were getting our butts kicked by 36 points with 10 and a half left in the third, and we won by 6.
Wow.
All right, that was the biggest comeback in G League history. Um, I mean, obviously, you don't want to be in that situation, but guys, it's one of those things you need to talk to them about as a team. Of, hey, you got to put the foot on the pedal. You got to keep going if you're up 15-20, and you got to tell them, hey, look, they're going to make runs. They're going to make runs. They might go 6-0. So it's important for coaches to, hey, don't hesitate and not take that timeout. Take it, blow it.
Right.
There's sometimes, I sit in the huddle and I tell our guys, hey man, this timeout, I mean, just sit there and talk to them. I'm not drawing up a play. I just sit there and talk to them. I was like, hey guys, we're just turning the water off. All right, they're hot right now. We're turning the water off. We're gonna go out there fresh, and that's it. And they'll be like, what's the ATO, or whatever. I'm like, well, we got to get a stop. That's the ATO. Let's get a stop, and let's get an easy an extra pass, good look. And that's exactly what sometimes that's what we would actually get. And it's just being simple and talking to these guys because their minds are all over the place and they're like, oh, now coach is going to yell at us or something. So it's really trying to switch things up and just trying to be positive is big.
Appreciate it. That's awesome. In terms of timeout management, do you have any sort of philosophy as to like when you want to use them, or like how do you approach that, or is it mainly feel for you as well?
Well, I'd like to say it's feel. You can really we can really get specific. Towards the end of the games,
Right.
how do you use your reset timeout? I mean, this game, they came back a little bit on us at the end, and I had one timeout and then I had a reset timeout, and I used the reset timeout because they fouled Walt Lemon the previous play, and he only made one of two free throws, and we really wanted to advance the ball and get the ball to one of our high percentage free throw shooters, and we did with Naz, and he actually made both of them. So, sometimes I
Any
wouldn't.
guys, just got to throw that in there.
Yeah, yeah. So, you can be really specific in how you want to use those timeouts. In the G League, it's a little bit different because we have those reset timeouts and where you can advance it right away. But I can't huddle with the guys,
Right.
so you need to be prepared for, your need to play, your need three play, and then just getting the ball in and having your three best free throw shooters in the game, and hopefully, just concluding the game with those free throws.
So just one more question before we jump on film, unless anybody else in the group has some questions for you. But the need two, need three, you mentioned you break it down into little segments, the games within the games, and maybe like fouling up two, fouling up three. Are these all things that are conveyed earlier, or are a lot of them things that you're kind of doing on the fly, impromptu to the moment?
We really try to prepare these guys certain lineups for a need two or a need three, and I mean and just get in, like we call it press four, and that's our basically get it in, and they're going to foul us or dribble it out type thing. But
Right.
we work on that in practice all the time. Like I said, we have 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute games, and depending on all the situations, I mean, we might go in practice. It's a 2 minute game. Blues up six, white. You guys are down 0-6, and we just got to play. We're going to have those situations, and it's going to be an under out. So I might work on an ATO and draw it up that we're going underneath or side out and everything. So we really try to, have those guys understand what those specific plays are, and if the other team calls a timeout and they used it and we got an extra time to, draw something up where I might want to do something different. Where two of the guys, in shoot around were in those spots. Now I want to put two different guys in there, so to make sure they understand what they're supposed to be doing. And that's where, you got to have a high basketball IQ, especially in the NBA and the G League. You got to be ready to jump in there and run your route is what I call it.
Right. Love it. Jake had a question. Jump in, Jake.
Hey, Steve. My name's Jake Birdsong. I'm a high school coach. And I was just curious. So obviously the G League isn't the main goal of your players. They'd like to get brought up to the NBA. So I was wondering if you've ever dealt with players or teams that were selfish, that were more concerned with their personal performance over the team, and if there's any ways you deal with that or handle that and get them to buy into playing as a team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the toughest parts about my job is, the G League. You got, especially, some of these college guys or young guys, they come in and we're forming a team of everyone's best player, and the notion that everyone, guys think that they need to score, 40 points or 25 points a game just to get called up. That's not the case. One of the things the Pacers did in previous, they called up Steph Hicks, and Steph was with us for, he's been with me for 5 years, but he was just a guy who came in and went to work every day with his head high, being positive, doing the little things, and just going to work. And that's part of our culture. I reinforce unselfishness all the time. You know, in the NBA and the G League, you got to be very careful in how you present that to specific players. I can't sit there and show the team, the entire team, a possession where one guy was really selfish. Now I might have to talk to that guy beforehand and say, hey, look, I'm gonna show this clip and I'm gonna ask you what's the right play, rather than sitting there saying that's a bad shot, it's a terrible shot, where they feel like they just got attacked. Having conversations with that player is very crucial, and that can be a 2-minute conversation, it can be a 5-minute conversation, and just saying how you doing, just talking with them, and hey, I need you to do this for me. What can I do for you? Kind of a back and forth. I think that's very important. Some of the best conversations I have are in the airports with our guys. Just walking around because we're going through airport to airport. But I think just talking with them, showing them film, showing them individual film. I mean, showing that you care for them. I think that's very important. But preaching unselfishness all the time and showing it on film also. If a guy had a wide open layup, but he kicked it for a corner three, or something like that, or that's not really a good example. I'd rather take the wide open layup, but just not forcing it, making the extra pass, whatever. I think showing that to reinforce that, I think will really help the team, and then maybe some of those selfish players.
Yeah, that's good. I appreciate it.
So Greg dropped one in the chat. I know Greg is often at work while he tunes into this call. Greg coaches in my league up here in Canada. He says, how much freedom does a G League coach have to coach, and how much is mandated from the big club?
It early on in my I guess my rookie days of being a head coach, I mean, you really got to have the same philosophies as the head coach of your parent club. So, I mean, I had conversations with Frank Vogel. I had conversations with Nate McMillan. Hey, can I switch things up a little bit? Can I do maybe this defensively? Our guy, I know you like your guys to be up really and drop pick and roll in the middle. Well, we're having a tough time because those quicker guards are getting by our bigs. Can we drop them a little bit? Just having those conversations, and they're watching their own games. I mean, they'll eventually, occasionally get on and watch ours, but hey man, do what you got to do, coach. And I've been very fortunate that Frank and Nate have always done that. Now, obviously the front office might, hey, you got to play these guys, 35 minutes a game at least. Now, sometimes that could be tough. You could have a big out there who's getting torched by 5 other guards, and they just went small and they're pressing us. But you got to get that guy minutes. It's tough. But over the years, just having those small conversations of, hey man, I like to put in a 2-2-1 press. And I like to trap this or that. And then they'd be like, all right, great. But then I'd give them clips of it and see if it worked with our guys or not. But I think as early head coaches, they kind of, all right, we're sticking to the big club, and this is what we're going to do. As years go by, I mean, you got to coach your team. I don't have Victor Oladipo on my team. I don't have Miles Turner, who's an elite shot blocker. Okay. I got a 6'8" guy, so you gotta, coach your team, but that's where I said before, you have that foundation. All right. That's your base. And now we can try to do different things that will help the team.
Awesome. If nobody else has anything, I'm just going to jump into a little bit of, oh, go ahead, Connor.
What's going on, Steve? My name's Connor Haar. I'm a student assistant at West Liberty. So I know you mentioned switching and you like to attack switches. Are there any, how much is coverage based in your game plan of how you want to attack certain coverages, whether that be from ball screen or post up or off screen stuff?
It really depends. I like our guards attacking. I mean, and it depends on personnel of who we have. Like if Goga Pataze is with us and he's assigned with us, and these teams are switching, and I mean, we would totally empty out one side, and we would have Walt Lemon, our point guard, and Goga come in for a side pick and roll, and we would just dump it down to Goga. I mean, simple as that. Now, if we don't have Goga, and we feel like we have the advantage with the guard, I mean, teams call it boomerang or whatever, where you just hit the guy and then he just throws it right back and then you attack. I mean, it's simple like that. I'm not trying to cross screen, back screen, and trying to do all these crazy things. I just really try to make it as simple as possible for our guys. This is what we want. Dump it in. If we're throwing it down to Goga, don't come off. Just stay high, get away from him, and Goga's got to go to work. And we want to go to that mismatch. So that's kind of how I would look at it. What's our best advantage? Is it best in the post, or is it best at the perimeter with our guard? But we have to have the correct spacing, and that's some things that we go over previously, pregame or shoot around.
Anybody else have anything? All right, Coach, I'm just going to bring up some film from the game.
Okay.
I just split it up into, give me 1 second here. I split it up into some sets that I liked and some defending points, and then just a couple clips from the end of game here.
Okay.
In terms of time, we'll try to, I'll skip through some of these. Obviously, I want to be respectful of your time, as I mentioned. Are you good?
This is good.
I appreciate. Thank you. Are you good with this size, or do you need me to full screen it?
That's perfect. That's fine.
Awesome. So, I mean, just anything that you see, what your comments are, maybe how you would approach film with guys. I mean, some of these are probably simple fixes or simple adjustments type deal, but we just obviously want to hear your perspective, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's okay. So rewind. This is a common set. The Bucks use it. Hawks use it. It's called wide, where you just got two guards, and then you're big right here. You can hit the big. You got different options. Now Jordan Seipert, he's an elite. We call him a laser. The dude can knock it down. But Steph Hicks, who's guarding Jordan right there, he can't fall asleep. If you pause it right there. We tell Steph, because he's a shooter, we're not going under on him. Okay, we need to stick him right in his hip and drive him over any pin down or any type of screen. So Steph does that, but then he stands up and then he relaxes, and then Jordan comes out here. I mean, that's a tough shot.
That is a tough shot, but
that's an elite shooter. So Steph's got to be physical with him. He sticked him coming over, and he's got to stick him again, or even just kind of face guard him right there and not let him get another shot. It's a great set. It's kind of a wide set. And, that's a great set for that type of player. That's something we use for CJ Wilcox, who's actually guarding the ball right there on Taj.
So, Coach, when you said stick him and drive him over, you mean send him to the side farther away from where the ball is coming from, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't like lock and trail, basically, right. If you've heard that. I mean, I like stick. I just feel like that's a little bit, more aggressive, lock. We don't want to see that guy's, numbers on the back of his jersey is what we always tell our players. We want to stick them, with that forearm and really, drive over and fight over that screen. But it's a good set by them. Steph just can't fall asleep.
This is one of yours that I liked. Maybe just some teaching points or what you saw here.
Yep. This is called Chase 2. And if you could rewind it, it's for our shooter. It's for CJ Wilcox. So I think I'll tell you when to pause it and when not to.
For sure.
Okay, so pause it right there. Okay, so Walt Lemon, he's high right here without the ball. We want him to be higher. I mean, actually that's a good spot. We don't want him to be free throw line, but Taj McCall, he's in, which he's actually playing good D. So the first look is actually the back screen for Ben Moore, right at the the lob right there, right at the rim, and then CJ has two options coming off of it. So if you can go a little bit more. Okay, so pause it right there. So now CJ's underneath the basket. If Steph, who threw it to Walt right here, if Steph still had it, all right, CJ is coming off the other end. So it's basically what CJ wants to do. He can come out Alizé's screen, or he can come off Ben's screen. If CJ's coming, towards the baseline like he is now, then Steph is going to make that pass. So it's a read for CJ. Sometimes a lot of teams switch these little low block screens,
Right.
and that's why Ben's kind of jumping right in there for a flash. But we call this chase two. It's good for shooters, and you get a couple different options off of it. We obviously don't get anything here, but you get a lob and you get some different direction. But everyone's got to be on the same page. If Steph throws that ball all the way to Walt and then CJ goes out the other end, the play's done, play's dead. So everyone's got to be on the same page, and that's one of the things we really talk about pregame and or just in practices and just dive into stuff on film.
Can you talk a little bit about shot selection? Obviously, like most people know about the analytical spectrum of, open at the basket, open three all the way. But I really like this action. You don't end up getting anything out of it. And he creates and takes this. I would know some coaches at my level that would be upset with this shot. Whereas, I mean, like if you look at his numbers, he can shoot the ball. So what do you feel? How does it break down for you? What do you tell your guys?
For me with shot selection, I always tend to, obviously if a guy's, if he's known as a 3-point shooter and he's shooting a good percentage, we want those guys shooting the ball. But, it's, during the game, there's different situations where, like, for me, is that a good shot? Probably not. Probably not. I think we can, with Walt's speed, we can get that shot a lot, even though there is, he shot it with 7 seconds on the shot clock.
Yeah.
But, he's a guy that, he works on his game. He works on his 3-point shot all the time. I see it all the time.
Right.
Now, my next thought is what was our previous, 2-3 possessions? Did we score?
Okay.
Or did we have another shot like that? So that's one of those things, I don't just watching it right here. No, I think we can get something better. But did Walt make one before?
Right.
Did he just make one? Is that a heat check? So I kind of, look at it, a lot of different things, but with just Walt's speed, he can get to the rack. We have good. He can get there with 2-3 seconds left and get something. So really depends on who's shooting it, where is he shooting it, and what our offense looked like, previous possessions.
Probably not something that you stress over too much, though. Just maybe, hey, maybe not that one, and moving on next time.
Well, I think it was Jake's question, like showing film. Like I'd probably show Walt this clip individually rather than the team.
Right.
And just say, hey man, you got 7 seconds left. Like get the guy's space. Let's get Ben in the O of Fort and try to attack it. What do you see here? Rather than showing the whole team and being like, good shot, bad shot. You know what I mean? Where, how is that gonna help the individual and the team?
Sounds good. Next one is an under out. It's just a real simple play. Lob it to your most athletic player, but I like it. And I'm wondering how often you get it and throw it. Like,
well, we call this X, and if you could stop it. All right. So it's basically, the bigs are low right here. We got the shooter, which is Naz, the better of the two shooters, Naz in the opposite. So the first look is actually Naz with a bounce pass from Walt.
okay.
Now it's short clock, 2.7 seconds left on the shot clock. So, we like to use this play for short clock. But the bigs and the guards have kind of the freedom to do a lot of different things. We're obviously looking for Naz with that three. If it's not there, you see Ben. I mean, Ben's even wide open right here on the slip, setting it for Naz. Dax is actually supposed to go the other way, but we run this play multiple times throughout the game. RJ Hunter, who's guarding Dax, he's obviously lost. He's going the wrong way, and Dax just makes a play. We can have screens, we can have slips. A lot of teams, short clock, might just say, all right, we're switching everything. So that's why you have high basketball IQ guys like Ben Moore who, hey, I'm going to come up here and slip this and try to maybe get a layup. But we actually got this we got 2 lobs this year with this play, and both were with Dax. And Dax actually, we ran this play against a 2-3 zone under out.
Wow.
And Dax actually got an alley-oop dunk. Like, he was just wide open because the big just kind of stands there, covering the rim, not trying to give up a layup. And Dax just flew right in the air and got a lob.
Well, he can climb the ladder for sure. I mean, he gets up on this.
Yeah, but we call this X, and it's just that's a hell of a catch and toss.
What do we got here? This is just punching it in the post. This goes to what you were talking about earlier. I think what I just liked about it was that you had the confidence to go to your post and let them work. You don't see it happen as much anymore.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite under out of bounds. There's a lot of different options off of it. 5 pops out, 4 comes over. We get this curl a lot with Steph. All right, so Steph's coming over. Steph's one of our best finishers at the rim. So you want to put that guy right there, and you really got to read how Dax's guy is playing. If he's in there, then we got a corner wide open 3. But they did switch. They switched out, and Dax did a great job of throwing it in and getting the hell out of the way and letting him work. Alizé is really right hand heavy. You can see he's getting ready to turn, and he made a tough shot right at the last buzzer. But that's just good awareness by all of our guys, and just having the confidence of throwing it in.
Love it. Love seeing it. I grew up in a different era of basketball. We used to throw it in there all the time and get out of the way. So this was another similar type. And what I was wondering when I was watching this was, did you identify something that made you want to look for this look underneath? Or was this just the guys noticing a particular matchup?
If you could pause it, or if you could rewind it kind of the beginning, Alizé, who catches it, stop it right there. He's supposed to be catching it at the college 3 or even the high school 3 right there. He's got to be at the elbow, force his guy maybe 1-2 steps, come up, catch that right there. So he's way too far. And we had a lot of trouble this year of just getting the ball to the elbow. A lot of our stuff was elbow game, and we were just lazy and just try to put our hand up, and it was tough, and it was a lot of telegraphing the pass. But Alizé is supposed to catch a little bit lower, and then Walt goes over there. You can go ahead and play it, and we get the option. We call this elbow 2. Walt's always got to be the first one, and Steph can curl that, all right, and then Walt can come back up for a pick and roll, but it's Steph's read. The guy, is obviously trying to top lock him here, and then Steph makes a good choice right there, and then Walt comes back up. But we like that pass. I mean, even right there, if Alizé caught that at the college 3, we probably would have got a layup. Okay, we probably would have got a layup. Steph right there, turn around, and just a quick shot. But Steph's one of our best guys. He uses his body. He does that harden where you're kind of going into the body and throwing it up. But
right,
a lot of different options out of that. We can have Walt come back right away. We can have curl. We can have a DHO with Alizé and Steph and trying to get that. So there's a lot of different sets with the elbow game.
So Coach, just before we get into some of the defending clips and some of the end of the game stuff. We're right on the hour. I do want to be respectful of your time.
No, man.
Are you okay for a few more? Or?
Yeah, let's go. This is great.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you.
It's snowing outside, so where am I going to go?
We had our first one yesterday, actually, and it was pretty big. So just a wide pin down, and I'm wondering sort of what your teaching points are, how you would guard that typically, what you see in terms of how you would approach film with them.
Yeah, so I know we kind of discussed this a little bit earlier. You know, Steph Hicks guarding a laser, so you can't go under. You know, you don't want to gap it. You really got to get on that guy's hip and stick him and drive him over and be there on the catch. If you rewind it a little bit, you know, Walt Lemon, you know, he can be a little bit over and be a little bit more active on that catch. I mean, you know where it's going. You know,
Right.
he can be in a little bit. The big, he should be flat right here. Okay, Alizé should have his left foot back a little bit, but you know, if Steph gets caught right there, Alizé should be a little bit deeper. If he shoots a mid range too, okay, you know, contested. We like to tell Steph, if you're late, we want a rear view pursuit. So getting in his, you know, rear view right here and seeing a hand to maybe try to alter that shot.
Right.
And then when he gets in the paint, that's got to be an automatic, you know, kind of switch. So Steph takes the big, who set the screen, and then Alizé's just got to win that war at the rim. But we
Coach,
really want to stick shooters. If it's a non-shooter, man, we'll just gap and get right into them and play it.
I'm wondering what your teaching points are on the rear view contest. I've been to a lot of the 905s practices up here in Toronto, and I know they spend a lot of time on it. I'm wondering just sort of like how you teach it to your guys, what you're telling them and emphasizing.
Well, I mean, it really depends on your philosophy with shooters. I mean, if you're a team who likes to, you know, fly at them and fly by them and get them off the 3-point line, you really got to discuss rear view pursuit, because you got to get back in. You got to get back in a rebound, got to get back into the play, and just get back into your guy. You don't want to leak out into the other end. So if he's a right-handed shooter, left-handed shooter, I think that's very important. You definitely want to get on his side where he's shooting it, and you don't want to, you know, try to block it and all that, because that, I mean, the percentages on that, you're probably going to get fouled because there's probably going to be some body involved. But, you know, just really turning your shoulders and really, you know, just getting right there and where he comes up and he sees it and he might alter his shot a little.
Right.
I think that's really important. You kind of want to go to the side where you change your angle of your shoulders, where if they go into you, then you're just showing your hands and chest. That's a huge thing we always teach every year. You know, some of these officials, they call, you know, a lot of hand checks and this and that. On all these drives, you got to show hands and chest. Rear view pursuit, you got to show hands and chest. You don't want to foul them.
Awesome. I think the next two are them attacking your drop coverage. I'm just wondering what you see.
Okay, so rewind it a little bit. You know, Steph, I mean, RJ Hunter is an elite shooter. You don't really see him in a lot of pick and roll, but Steph's got to get into him. All right, he's too late right there. And he's probably having some type of a brain fart, and he's thinking he's going to go under. But we tell our bigs, we don't want them to come free throw line extended. That's kind of an electric fence for us. If they want to shoot that mid-range shot right at the high school three or even at the elbow, fine, great. But Steph's got to get into that body. Cavell is in a good spot. Okay, Cavell's in a good spot. He's right at that elbow. But Steph's got to get over, and then he's got to review pursuit and contest the shot. But he goes under right here, and it's too high. And RJ shoots, I don't know, a 2.5 right there. I don't know what his right foot looks like, but
Yeah.
you know, the big is in good position. Steph's got to get into his body right when he hears that verbal cue of drop left. and he's got to get him there and stick him and force him left.
Were you switching guard at this point? Do you remember? Because to me, it almost looks like he thought he was going to get hit by a guard and went with the switch momentarily.
It's very important that our bigs and guards talk, have to communicate. And Steph's probably looking for something right here. I don't know if Cavell said anything or not, but we might have been in 1 through 4. I guarantee you we weren't in 1 through 5.
Right.
We might have been 1 through 4 with Alizé at the 4. But whoever's guarding the ball, whatever screen is being set, that guard needs to honor that call. Okay. It might not be the right call. Okay. He might say switch. Well, then you better switch. Okay. So that's one thing that we tell our guys, like, look, it's got to be the right call, but whatever you say, they need to honor that call, and you better do it, or else that's going to be a problem. So right here, we were probably in 14, 1 through 4.
Right.
And then the 5 was probably just in a blue and drop.
Got one more of them attacking your drop. And used a bit of a snake dribble.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was just wondering how you guys approached the snake when I was cutting this up.
Yep. So we're good here. He's trying to fight over. Cavell's good. I mean, he's not too up where, RJ could kind of get to the basket. Steph's still fighting over. Even right there, like, Steph's getting back. Our rule is the guy's not in the paint yet. Try to fight over and get back. And then now RJ, takes that dribble. Now Cavell's just got to win it at the rim. All right. And he's yelling, X or break off, and telling Steph to get back to his man. Now that big, I think that's Kenny Gabriel. He can shoot it a little bit. So you got to be prepared for a throwback break off. But anytime that guy really gets 2 feet, at the dots with that half circle, Cavell's just got to, and he does a great job this game. He played really well. This is one of his first games for us. He does a great job of just being vertical and going up. And Steph's got to see if Kenny Gabriel's crashing here, and he's not, because if that's a back iron shot and rebound, Kenny Gabriel's right there. But that's good defense. We'll live with that. Cavell did a good job of not being up.
There were 2 on defending hooks in transition. I'll get those 2 done and then move to end of game for you.
Okay.
I find this action hard to guard, where the big sprints ahead, turns around and sets just something that clocks him. He kind of misses it here, but what are sort of your teaching points against the hook? And I mean, you get bailed out with a great block at the end there, but
yeah, Dax Miles is an unbelievable defender. Does a hell of a job of just, sitting down. I mean, Ben Moore's got to talk to him right here. Screen left. But Dax wants to get into guys. A lot of guys would, with McCall's speed, you can go under on that. Okay, you can go under on that, but Dax does a hell of a job of just getting in front. It's really based on personnel. I mean, see a lot of pistols, kind of the same situation, but in transition like that, with only 2 guys right there, Dax could have went under because it's a non-shooter, but he does a good job of being up. But Ben's really got to communicate just the screen, and if he gets hit, then it might be emergency switch with Ben Moore. And even right there, I mean, Ben's high because it became another screen. Ben's got to be lower.
okay.
Ben's got to be lower.
And would you typically play the side pick and roll with just 2, or would you allow this? Like, this late help, in my opinion, is great and knocks it out. But I know a lot of coaches at your level like to play it only with 2, and that would just end up being a wide open look.
Yeah. Now you're talking offensively, correct?
No, I'm talking defense. So like offensively, their side pick and roll here, they throw a nice little pocket pass. I know a lot of coaches only want to play it with, say, 28 and 8, and they don't want to involve 13 at all on this help rotation.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm like, what's sort of your philosophy on that? I mean, in my opinion, it's a great play, but
yeah, no, we definitely want our low man to be in, our base guy to be in. I mean, Cavell, he's he's a 6'10", athletic shot blocking, gazelle is what we called him.
Right.
He's just fast as shit. But we want him to be in, and if anything gets screwed up with a emergency switch or just a good pass. I mean, he threw a good pass, and Cavell had good awareness. And I think that's Naz on the other end. He's got to be sitting on the opposite big's legs for an offensive rebound. But we want that big to be in and really try to shrink that floor. And he's in a good position to do that.
This was one more of their hooks where they just stick their head in. I think they actually, they do make some contact on this one.
Yeah, that's got to be an emergency switch. I mean, you get screened like that, transition, one of the fastest teams in the league. Walt should be talking to him, but it's quick. Walt's got to get up there, but Walt, that's one clip I show Walt individually. All right, try to call that out as early as possible. Okay, you don't do it, then you obviously have to take the ball, but what didn't you do right here? And he'll be like, I didn't contest.
Right.
It's one of big pet peeves. Get out there and contest. You got to contest, even if it's late. Doesn't matter. But that's where it's got to be an automatic switch, and you just got to communicate that on D.
And then the end of game situation. So I'll just paint it. It's we're a side out. You guys are you're up the 1. You got just under a minute left. Would this be something that you guys in your multiple games previously would have rehearsed? Is this one that's a go-to for you, or are you drawing up something new?
No, this is a play where we're really trying to get to one specific guy the ball, and that's Walt Lemon. They did a good job of getting him or denying him, and Ben had to come, but it's a broken play. It's not beautiful at all. But if you could rewind a little bit, what we're really looking at, specifically, all right, if you could, yeah, all right, so pause it. So, we want this kind of low, or not low, but kind of angle pick and roll with Ben. Okay. We have, our lowest percentage shooter in Dax Miles in that right corner. Okay. We have our better break percentage shooter in Steph Hicks. All right here. And then we have Alizé, the other guy who's in right here. And we want Alizé crashing. Okay. So this is a play that we talk about, shoot around, end of practice situation, 52 seconds, we're up 1. This is what we're looking for. Okay. So these guys are in specific spots for reasons,
right?
Based on their shooting percentages. Back to analytics. I mean, Pacers guys, Spencer and Nick did a great job of sending me, okay, Dax is actually better in the right corner than the left. Okay. So when it comes to end of game, I'm going to put Dax in the right. I'm going to put Alizé, in the left. I mean, I could have had some other shooters in here. But I think right here, we only had, we had one timeout and then a reset. So,
right.
Very specific with it. We wanted kind of Walt to drive right and then just make reads. But it was a kind of a screwed up. He spun, but Ben Moore makes plays for us. Okay. He makes plays for us, and he always gets on loose balls, offensive rebounds. So we really want Ben to be in that, that screen and roll and not having, Alizé in there.
This spin back pass is remarkable to me.
Yeah, it wasn't a pass. It was a
loss.
It was a, oh shit, moment. But it worked out. I would like to have Walt continue to attack that right hand. Cat's got to make a decision,
right?
If he can guard Dax or not. But Ben's rolling, and it just worked out the right way for us.
Awesome. And then the last one, you're under 10, you're up 4, it's their ball side out. What would you say to your guys in this, other than just basically don't foul? I mean, are there any teaching points that I might be missing out on, or what are you thinking at this moment?
Yeah, if you could pause it. So in the huddle, Norm Richardson, he's one of my assistant coaches. He's leading this huddle right here. Okay. He's talking to the guys. I'm listening, but I'm kind of standing afar. and making sure that he's saying all the right things. And I know he's saying the right things.
Right.
It's show your hands and chest. Don't swipe down. Stay down on shot fakes. Okay. And we have to communicate. And it's as simple as that. When you come out of huddles, all right, thing that I've noticed, especially with players, high basketball IQ, low basketball IQ, you know, the last thing that you say to them is probably going to be the last thing that they remember.
Right.
Okay? So we're telling, you know, Norm's told those guys all of this, and they run a great play. And but we're switching everything right here. You know, they run a kind of a little like double drag kind of drop play for a 3-pointer, and I think they get 2 points here. But that's really what we're trying to tell guys. So we're talking here, okay? Okay, it's a different play.
It's just, yeah, it's the ends up with an air ball for a distant 3. It looks like he had a step up option and didn't use it or whatever. But I mean,
yeah, we're just telling guys just to be solid here and don't foul and you know, just show your hands and chest. That's really it.
Awesome. Coach, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to wind this down just by my usual big thanks to the Rising Coaches Network for connecting me with other coaches that are willing to share the game and get better. And then, of course, I'm going to give a huge thank you to you, Coach Gansey, for taking your time. I know you're starting to gear back up now, so it means so much more to me that you could take the time and speak with me about stuff like this. And we got one more this Friday, obviously, so tune in for that. For my Run It Backers, we got Coach Brian Burton on Friday, and I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here. Coach Gansey, if you want to hang out for a minute or two, that's totally up to you. Usually we kind of shoot the breeze, but thanks for everyone, and really, really appreciate this.
All right, appreciate it, guys.